All right, we're just going to record this live because I don't think that ultimately this is a very long video, but I think that it's an incredibly important video because we were just talking about like theory crafting builds. I'm working on all of the new builds for Maxroll. We're officially going to have a Shadow Surfer build guide up on Maxroll for season 4 because during the PTR we tested it out. It was super good. So look forward to that, putting in the work right now to get that fully theory crafted for you. But back to the topic at hand. The question is, what can season 4 in Diablo 4 do to fail? Which is a heavy topic of conversation, but more so relates to what is the season theme of season 4 going to be? Now, we are almost certainly going to have a campfire chat either within this week, like within this next week period, or we're going to get the date for the campfire chat within this week period. You know, we like to get dates for dates, right, in the Diablo 4 fandom. But the question came up of, do you think if the season 4 theme, so we had the season of malignancy with the malignant hearts, we had vampire season, you know, with blood harvest and the vampiric powers. It wasn't called vampire season, actually, forget the season of blood. We had the season of the construct, which just added a pet or a minion or a mercenary, however you want to think about it, to the game. It was funny because this pet was strictly better than every other pet that currently existed in the game. But now we're moving on to season 4. The question is, what will the theme of season 4 be? And can they mess up the hype of Diablo 4 walking into this season with a bad season theme? And I just want to very quickly put out this video to, I think, help set expectations. I do not currently have any secret information. I'm just telling you straight up. While sometimes I have secret information, I do not currently have secret information on quite literally what is going to be in this season. But Adam Fletcher put out a really important tweet that I didn't see enough people necessarily talk about, or at least I haven't heard other people talk about it. But, you know, it kind of just sounds like a general thing, right? So I'm going to read it to you as if you need to read a slideshow, right? We want to thank everybody for spending time in the Diablo 4 PTR, giving us feedback throughout the testing period and in the days after the PTR closed. The team has been combing through all of your feedback and has been heads down making the key changes in time for season 4. So remember this tweet basically comes out 1 month before season 4 goes live on May 14th. So if the PTR just ended, now they're looking to incorporate feedback. They probably already had things that they were still working on for this season, polishing it up, you know, working through bugs, etc. So glad that we got a PTR to be able to help this out. But that gives them a 1 month turnaround. So it's not like they can be doing work up to the day of the season launch, right? Because it has to go through certification, has to go through all of the different consoles and all the different platforms that the game goes to. Steam, Battle.net, PlayStation, and Xbox. So they have less than 1 month to digest, argue about, design around, and then incorporate feedback from what we did in the PTR, in addition to what they were already working on. They then go on to say, we are excited that we could focus the majority of this season on your feedback, and the PTR held barely anything back. The PTR held barely anything back. The thing that was most notably missing from the PTR was the season theme. We saw some Iron Wolf stuff out in the Helltides. There were data mined assets for like the symbol of the Iron Wolves, etc. So one of the things that I was most afraid of is that we were quite literally just going to have back-to-back seasons of mercenaries. One with the Seneschal, one with the Iron Wolves. Now that being said, if I could have my boy Blaze back from Diablo 2 from the Iron Wolves, you know, my Fire Enchant boy from my Blade Sentinel Assassin, I would be super stoked to see him back in the mix. But I don't really like mercenaries in these games, and I don't like the concept of testing them out multiple times, probably pointing to them eventually joining as like a primary feature in the game to come, or at least that's my speculation. It goes on to say there are still a few small items that we kept in store that will round out this season, and we look forward to everyone jumping into the full season next month. We plan on discussing that along with other changes based off of player feedback from the PTR in an upcoming stream. We'll have more news and dates for that stream soon. So we're now a week out from this tweet. You know, Adam Fletcher doesn't get to determine when information comes out, right? That's a whole other cog in the Blizzard, the greater Blizzard machine of PR management. But one, it'd be cool to hear about it, so that's why I assume it's going to be this week. But I really want to, really want to hang a lantern on. The PTR held barely anything back. There are still a few small items that we kept in store. What are things that we're fairly confident are going to be seasonal aspects, or at least seasonal items in the game? One, we saw the different types of potions. So there was basically the potion of artillery shrine. It was called like potion of holy bolts or elixir of holy bolts or whatever. We saw 2 different potions, or 3 different potions, that were dropping, at least in the Helltide footage, that had seasonal icons on them. So it sounds like literally just like finding avenues of interesting, power options in the game. Elixirs, there they are. We saw Iron Wolves in the Helltide. I'm hoping that they're not just mercenaries that you can get, but you saw that it said like reputation with the wolves plus 300. So we're probably going to have some type of bounty board like we had in the Blood Harvest, where you'll be able to unlock caches. Okay, so like we got that. It's probably tied to doing the Helltide because they really want to get people back into the Helltide. Now they put all this time and effort into it. So it's like overworld stuff that you can go do to incentivize you to go do that, as opposed to just being in the pit, just being in Nightmare Dungeons. And we also found an item. It was most notably dropping in cellars, and it was a way of juicing the open world, at least juicing the Helltide. It was a consumable that increased the level of the monsters in the Helltide. It had some other stat to it as well. I could be pulling these things up, but it's not really important because we're not going to know what the final version of them are. But if we already saw some cool new juicing of open world content, some reinvesting into getting you to do the open world content, consumables, which aren't direct paths to power, right? It's not like a vampiric power where it just increases your damage over time by 60%. These are duration-based, interesting additions to the kit of your character. And on top of all of these things, effectively a brand new game as far as like character player power is concerned, because gear is now ridiculously strong, but requires a lot more investment. On top of that, survivability is so much harder to manage. And if we were to walk into season 4 with all of these wildly dynamic changes to how player power, player building and progression, and like the end game goal of what a character's build is meant to accomplish, that would be incredibly muddied if we could also borrow like 50% additional damage or 50% additional survivability, which is effectively what vampiric powers, malignant hearts, as well as the seneschal generally devolved down into. It's just straight up boost to either your utility, your survivability, or your damage. So without knowing anything that you don't know, and just using the very glaringly obvious context clues given to us by the developers, I'm not sure that there's going to be a whole heck of a lot in the seasonal theme. Will it give you something to progress through? Absolutely. Will it give you some way of being able to get gear and some incentive to do content? Almost certainly. Will there be power to be found, or like faster progression or greater utility through these potions, etc.? Almost certainly. But I would not be surprised if season 4 is quite literally just Diablo 4 reboot with something for you to do, so you at least have a reason to be playing during the season if you're somebody who doesn't typically like to do that. And again, I just kind of want to put out this video because I think that in the void of information, which is sadly something that we find ourselves in enough and often enough, that I think that the team will continue to work on making more information known, more readily available, etc. But in this void, anything is possible. The greatest things you could ever think of, the most powerful and important quality of life aspects that you've ever wanted, and also sadly, the ability to ideate on how terrible it's going to be when things aren't good enough. When in reality, they're being quite clear, quite crystal clear here. I think we saw the vast majority of what's coming in this season in the PTR, and me myself also said out loud at one point, hey, we really don't know what's coming in the season, so like power could go even further than all of this. There's only a couple things that we didn't see. Small items barely held anything back. And I think that if we can all set our expectations when we walk into this campfire chat, it won't just be like raising pitchforks and torches. I just want to put this out very quickly because again, I hadn't seen enough people kind of talk on this, and there's a lot going on in Discords, there's a lot going on in the subreddit, a lot in comment sections that's basically just like, oh, and just wait until we get the season theme where Ultron's going to come down and fight a Megazord and then Godzilla and Mothra are going to go to battle. I don't think there's going to be a lot, and that is perfectly fine. But when the PTR dropped, one of the first jokes that I made was that the season theme could be I walk up to an old guy and he asks me, would you like power or to survive more? And I just click a button and stopped looking at him, and that was it. And I would be perfectly happy just playing Diablo 4 2.0, Diablo 4 Resurrected, Diablo 4 Rebirth, Unlimited 365 over 2 days reborn, Nightmares Remembered. I'm so excited to play the game in a way that will actually reward players for grinding and give us things to legitimately work towards, especially actual challenge with the pit. But I wouldn't get our hopes up. I don't think there's a lot coming, and I'm not trying to poo-poo anybody, but I'm just trying to be realistic. And also hope to potentially take the sting out of some people who were expecting the entire world to be delivered on a silver platter here. Let's hear what they have to say in the campfire chat. Obviously, I could be completely wrong on all this. Who knows? Maybe they have a expansion levels worth of season material. They absolutely don't, but maybe they do, right? And then this video is for nothing. But I do hope that it reaches out to a couple people and helps in that way of tempering expectations, so we can be realistically excited about the insane amount of work that's going into Diablo 4's Rebirth here, and not minimize that accomplishment just because there wasn't like a Frankenstein monster that I had to go tear the toes off of and make a necklace, and that gave me like 3 extra skill slots or whatever. But there you go. I hope this video helps out. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. If you're not new here, make sure you're subscribed. A lot of people aren't subscribed just because I show up in their algorithm, which is dope, don't get me wrong, but it would be cool if you could click that button. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope that helps, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.